Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Crest. I'm just here to give you the next steps in the legacy. If you have not completed your pitch or you were not approved uh, during your pitch process, then you will be working on that pitch step and finishing that pitch step. You cannot proceed until you have been approved for a legacy. So make sure that you touch base with your service learning teacher if you are still back in that step. But the rest of us are moving on to the next steps. I am in the Senior Capstone Handbook, which was given to you on the first day of service learning in paper copy, but you should also be able to find that on your service learning teacher Schoology page. So go to that if you have questions as well. But that is where I am working from. These are the steps that we are moving towards next. The first thing is there are a bunch of forms within this handbook that you need to get signed, and I will walk through those with you in a moment. And then this step bullet point right here is so incredibly important. You need to make sure you are documenting everything. We are going to have a time log that you need to complete and a blog that you need to complete. Both of those need to be completed so you can document photos and videos. You need a minimum of 20 hours that need to be documented. A lot of people exceed those 20 hours, but just need to make sure you're documenting those in the time log. And I'll show you guys where all of that is in just a moment. But just make sure you're taking lots of photos. Even if you think it's something that's really boring, take a picture of it. Any emails that you send, you should be saving those, taking screenshots of them. Any communication whatsoever should be recorded or screenshotted, just because you're going to need that information in your senior capstone presentation next year. Photos, I would suggest that you have a bare minimum of 50 photos. That may seem like a lot, but you should be taking tons and tons of photos, because if you decide to do the video montage route, you need a new photo every 10 seconds at the least. So that's a lot of photos because your video is 8 to 10 minutes. So you want to make sure that you're taking tons and tons of photos and videos of your project. Every single step that you do, you should be taking photos and videos. Think about things like if you're going somewhere, take a picture of the outside of the building. Take a picture of the people that are there. Take a picture of the things that you're doing. Everything should be documented. If you have a scenario in which you have some privacy issues, there are a few places that people have signed up for in which there are privacy issues, then certainly talk to your service learning teacher about that before you head into that situation. But you should at least be able to take the picture of the outside of a building and some other things along the way. Make sure that you're contacting your organizations and letting them know that you're approved for your legacy and that you're ready to begin. And then, again, make sure you have professional language, proofread your emails, all of that sort of stuff. If you're collecting any money, you need to make sure that you're keeping the accounting part of that. Make sure you're keeping a total of how much money you have raised and what you're doing with that money. There is an accounting form that is in this handbook. You could turn that into an actual spreadsheet as well to make it easier on yourself, but you do need to make sure you're keeping track of the money because you need that documentation for your project. Make sure you're planning and organizing your legacy in coordination with your service learning teacher. Just reach out to them, make sure they know where you're at. During every single service learning class period, they will be checking your plan, which we will go over in just a minute, and then your time log as well. And then just get started on your legacy. Your legacy is due on the first day of your senior year, so I would go ahead and make sure that is getting completed. The two forms that you need are down here. After all this stuff that we just did. Here's the parent agreement form. Make sure that you are writing in a description of what your senior legacy was. or is, and put that on that line, and then have your parents sign and date this. And this needs to be turned in hard copy, printed off, turn it into your service learning teacher. It is important that we receive this piece of paper. And then the next one is the student commitment form. This just says that you understand the legacy and all of the things that it entails. Make sure you sign that and also turn that into your service learning teacher. And just make sure both those are signed. And then the other forms that you might want to take a look at, the Senior Legacy blog, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. I'm going to show you how to create your blog. You will need to update this blog every single time in the weeks between service learning. Even if you feel like you haven't done a whole lot, at least post a blog about where you're at. Like if you're in between steps or you have thoughts about how you're going to complete your project, then you could post about that. Maybe you're not actually doing your project in that moment, but you have communicated with some people, or you found some people to help out with some things, or maybe you're just thinking about a step that goes with your legacy. You need a blog of some sort, a blog post of some sort during that time before the next learning class period. So you want to make sure you're updating that as well, and I will show you guys how to do that right now. But these directions are in the Senior Capstone Handbook. You will want to go back into here and get those directions. You're just going to go and you're going to put in blogger.com. That's what I did here. So if I go to blogger.com, I'm already signed into Google, and Blogger is owned by Google. So it pulls up all of my old blog posts that I've had while I've been creating sample blogs. If you have an old blog, say you create a blog in another class, then this is what's going to show up. And then you're going to want to click on this little arrow over here. This is the blog that I'm in right now. If I click on this arrow, I can click on new blog, and from there I can create a new blog. I can say Senior Legacy 2020, and then create my my address, Crest Senior Legacy 2020. And then the theme is not as important because you can change your theme later. And then I click create blog, and there we go. Now I have a place. Now I have a place in which I can create posts for my legacy and place them right in there. If I click create a new post, then I can write about my legacy. I'll hit publish when I'm done with that, and then that's a place where my teachers can see what's going on. You can also post photos by clicking on that. It's a good idea to save all of your photos in your blog or in Google Drive. Those are both good places to put your photos. I would back them up in Google Drive if you put them in your blog, because sometimes Blogger doesn't work like we want it to. But just make sure that you are posting them here so that we can see what's going on. Post photos, post emails, post whatever you want right in here that shows, hey, this is what I've been working on with my legacy. Put it in your blog here. And then the next step that I want us to talk about, we're going to go back to that handbook. So we talked about the blog. There's more instructions about how to create your blog there. I would definitely check it out. But it's pretty easy to create that. This is a time log that's in the handbook. However, your service learning teacher should be posting this one. This one might be easier for you to share out later. So I would just use this one. Just make sure that you make a copy if it's already not made for you. If it's an assignment in Schoology, then you won't need to make a copy. But if it was not posted as an assignment, then you will need to make a copy of this form. But just make a copy of that form and then start documenting your time right there. And then what else is in here? This is that money form I was talking about. You can record stuff in this form, or you can create your own right there in like a Google spreadsheet. Might be a good idea to do as well. And then this is, again, the rubric. That might be tweaked just a little bit before next year. we have a few changes that we might be making before the end of the year, but we will make sure you are aware of those if we have any changes that are being made. Going back to your next task. So you are going to be creating this blog so that you have the blog to write on. Then the other things that you're going to be doing, which will be posted on your teacher's Schoology page. One is you're going to fill out this form right here. Put your last name, first name, select your service learning teacher, and then you're going to write in your legacy. You're going to describe your legacy here. Try to give us details about what your legacy is, but keep it brief. And then here you're just going to paste your blog link. It's important that you click View Blog when you do that, and I'll show you why right now. If I go into my Blogger, and I go to one of my other blogs that I had, if I tried to send this link right here to my teacher, then they would not be able to see my blog at all. But if I instead click on View Blog and I send that link to my teacher, this is what it should look like, blogspot.com. Then my teacher can see my blog post. So just make sure you hit View Blog, and then you can share that blog link right there. All right, and then the next thing is to put a link to your project plan, and we will talk about your project plan in a moment. I may also put a spot here for that time log, because I think that might be a good place to just save everything so that your teachers can access it, and so I can access it next year when you're in senior capstone. So just make sure that you put the link to your Google Drive project plan. You will probably want to make that shareable as well, and then hit submit so that that goes to your teacher and to myself. A couple of those things I just referenced here. The project plan will also be on your teacher's Schoology page. This is what the project plan looks like. Your teacher will be checking this every service learning along with your blog, but you're just going to be summarizing your legacy here. This is basically a plan for your legacy, just to make sure that you have thought through all the steps. You're going to put the contact people here, people that you've talked to, people that you're going to need to talk to. You'll list them right there. Sometimes people need to talk to the city, like the Parks and Rec department or something like that, particularly if you're doing something like building a little library or putting anything into the ground like a birdhouse or anything like that. You will want to contact the city, so you'll probably want to put their name in there as well. And then list your service learning instructors. There, mainly you'll just have 11th grade instructors to list, just so that I know who is your instructor. And then down below, you can brainstorm some of the tasks that need to be completed right in this space right here. Try to think through all the details of what you're going to need to go through your project. And then here is where you'll actually start to put those tasks into a chart. You are going to break this down to every little thing, including communication that needs to happen. Like maybe the very first step is I need to contact my organization. That's probably everybody's first step. So put your task there. Then if I'm doing something like, I don't know, building a birdhouse, then I probably need to contact the city and let them know that I am wanting to build a birdhouse and where I want to build it and what kind of birds I'm trying to attract and that sort of thing. So there I might say I'm going to contact the city, or maybe I need to investigate how much the cost will be. That's another step that I'll need to take. I might need to measure out a birdhouse. I might need to go sit and see what kind of birds come to the park, so that I can figure out what type of wood and what type of birdhouse I need to create. And then, yeah, so there are just many steps that you might have. You need to think through every step and put that down. put down a goal date of when you want it to be completed. When do I want each of these tasks to be completed? And then what sort of resources might I need? For the communication task, you probably just need your computer. And then who do you need to contact? So every single step. If you have any sort of event, you might have some publicity that you need to list. Like I'm going to create a post